Sandal Castle is a ruined medieval castle in Sandal Magna, a suburb of the city of Wakefield in West Yorkshire, overlooking the River Calder. It was the site of royal intrigue and the setting for the opening scene of one of William Shakespeare's plays. History. The Warrens. William de Warenne, 2nd Earl of Surrey, was granted the Sandal estates in 1107. The second Earl built the first Sandal Castle of timber. He supported Robert Curthose against Henry I and was banished from the kingdom for 2 years. Later he was given the Wakefield manor. William de Warenne, 3rd Earl of Surrey, spent little of his time at Sandal, having taken crusading vows and joined the Second Crusade. He had one daughter, Isabel de Warenne, who married William of Blois, son of King Stephen, who became the 4th Earl. He died in 1159 having no children. Isabel, his widow, next married Hamlin, the 5th Earl. He was the son of Geoffrey of Anjou and assumed the Warren name on his marriage in 1164. Hamlin is thought to have built the early Norman stone fortifications at River Castle and also begun to replace the wooden fortifications at Sandal with stone. William de Warenne, 5th Earl of Surrey, married Maud Marshall in 1225. He was loyal to his cousin, King John, and is one of the 4 nobles whose name appears in the Magna Carta for John, and on his death in 1216 he supported his son Henry III. William's widow, Maud, held the Wakefield manor from 1240 after his death to 1252 when the son John de Warenne, 6th Earl of Surrey, came of age. John married Alice de Lusignan in 1247. In 1296 the 6th Earl was appointed Warden for Scotland by Edward I, and in 1299, the Earl and his royal master were triumphant over the Scots at the Battle of Falkirk. William de Warenne was killed at a tournament in Croydon, predeceasing his father. His son John de Warenne, 7th Earl of Surrey, was born in the year of his death. John married Joan of Bar but lived adulterously with Maud de Nereford from a village near Castle Acre in Norfolk. In 1347, the 7th Earl died, probably from the Black Death. His sons John and Thomas became Knights Hospitaller in the Holy Land, predeceasing the mother. The lands passed to Edward III. The Warrens had castles at Lewes and Reigate in Sussex, Castle Acre Castle in Norfolk, and Conisbrough in Yorkshire. The Dukes of York. In 1347, Edward III granted Sandal to his 5th son Edmund of Langley, who was 6 years old at the time. His elder brother John of Gaunt held Pontefract and Knaresborough castles. Edmund was granted Wark Castle near Coldstream in the Scottish borders, and in 1377 Fotheringhay Castle in Northamptonshire, which was to become his home. And for the next 75 years the family seems to have spent little time at Sandal, leaving it to the management of constables as stewards. In 1385 Edmund was made Duke of York as a reward for his support for his nephew, Richard II of England. He was succeeded by his son, also Edward, who campaigned in Ireland and died at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. Edward was succeeded by his nephew, Richard Plantagenet, 3rd Duke of York. The Battle of Wakefield. Early in 1460, during the Wars of the Roses, Richard Plantagenet made a bid for the throne. He was initially not well received, but an active accord made in October 1460 recognized him as heir to the throne and named him protector of the realm. In December, Richard went to Sandal Castle, either to consolidate his position or to counter Lancastrian dissent. He had an army of 3,000–8,000 men, but on December 30th in the Battle of Wakefield, he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered by Queen Margaret's army, coming from nearby Pontefract. Richard suffered a crushing defeat and both he and his younger son Edmund, Earl of Rutland, were killed. Richard III. The castle's last brush with royalty came in 1483 when Richard's eighth son Richard III chose it as a northern base and ordered some significant investments. This hope was short-lived, however, as Richard was killed in the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. After this the castle was maintained a little, but gradually declined with the building of Wakefield Prison in the 1590s, leaving it even less useful. The English Civil War. During the English Civil War, Sandal Castle was royalist, although its neglected state left it out of the major conflicts. In 1645, however, it was besieged at least 3 times by parliamentarian troops. Butler recounts, having been assured that they would receive a safe passage to Welbeck House in North Nottinghamshire, they surrendered the castle at 10 o'clock on October 1, 1645. The garrison was then 10 officers and 90 men, with 2 of the men called seniors, implying that they were professional soldiers rather than just non-commissioned officers. They also surrendered 100 muskets, 50 pikes, 20 halberds, 150 swords and 2 barrels of gunpowder. No pieces of artillery are mentioned. As a result of this capitulation, only Bolton Castle in Wensleydale and Skipton Castle remained in royalist hands in Yorkshire. But Sandal was the most resolute of all the 3 northern garrisons, and its fall caused great rejoicing among the parliamentarian forces. By the end of the siege the castle was a ruin. The following year Parliament ordered that it be made untenable. The castles built by William the Conqueror's followers were self-sufficient strongholds, some of which were tax-gathering points. Some controlled the larger towns, river crossings or passes through hills. 2 castles were built near Wakefield, one at Low Hill on the north bank of the Calder and Sandal on the south bank. The first castles were probably started and completed in the early 12th century by William de Warenne, 2nd Earl of Surrey, after he had been granted the manor of Wakefield by Henry I. Sandal and Low Hill were motte and bailey earthwork castles with wooden towers on the mound and baileys with timber palisades and deep ditches. Sandal is built on a natural sandstone ridge, the Oaks Rock. The moat was raised to 10 meters with the 7 meters deep moat surrounding it. Only Sandal survived, and during the 13th century the keep, curtain wall and other buildings were rebuilt in stone, probably started by either the 6th or 7th Earls Warenne. Timber motte and bailey castles were often converted into stone if they were in use for long periods. Sandal is a particularly good example of this. The stone keep was circular with 4 towers, each 4 stories high. 2 of them close together formed a gatehouse, and the east tower contained a well, 37 meters deep. The double-walled keep would have had guardrooms, storerooms and servants' quarters on the ground floor, the main hall above, and private apartments on the 2nd floor. The tower rooms had garderobes that discharged on the outer walls of the keep. The curtain wall was 6 feet high with a wall walk along its length. It enclosed the bailey and crossed the moat twice to reach the keep. The barbican at Sandal was inside the bailey. It was a 3-story tower with a moat opposite 2 drum towers at the entrance to the keep, all of which were constructed in the early 1270s. The barbican with its own gate and portcullis added an extra line of defense between the main entrance gate and the keep. Attackers entering the barbican had to make a right-angle turn to enter the keep, which was protected by a drawbridge between the drum towers. A stairway from the barbican led to a sally port, a hidden entrance near the moat from which surprise attacks could be made. The bailey lay to the southeast of the keep, with the main gatehouse on the northeast side. It was crescent-shaped, about 71 meters long and 52 meters wide. Inside the bailey there was a 12 meters deep well and 2 privy shafts, one of which is 8 meters deep. The ruins. The ruins were a source of stone for local building and became a place for locals to relax. They were depicted in the foreground of a drawing of Wakefield from the south by Samuel Buck in 1719 or 1722, and in 1753 an engraving was published of an Elizabethan survey drawing. The ruins were first excavated by the Yorkshire Archaeological Society in 1893. A more detailed project began in the summer of 1964 and was a partnership between Wakefield Corporation, Wakefield Historical Society and the University of Leeds. This project started as an experiment in adult education, but with the help of over 100 local volunteers it grew into a complete and rigorous excavation that continued for 9 years. Whilst excavating the Bailey, archaeologists found remains of flint tools suggesting a Mesolithic encampment was there in about 5000 BC. In 2003 a wooden walkway was provided to allow access to the summit of the motte without causing erosion. A visitor centre was constructed about 100 meters from the castle. There have been historical reenactments and living history days, including commemoration of the Battle of Wakefield and the deaths of Richard, Duke of York, and his son Edmund. The castle is a scheduled monument, which means it is a nationally important historic building and archaeological site which has been given protection against unauthorized change. It is also a Grade II * listed building.